Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Rage, and we are back today to go through the next couple of nodes now for the negative zone with this Harbinger event. Remember, you do have the option to use both Thunderbolts and Vigilante, but for myself here, I highly recommend using Vigilante as they seem to be the go-to team here to get things done. So I made guides on the first couple of nodes already, so I'll link everything below, guys. But without further ado, let's get started here now into the next couple of nodes. Okay, so this one is arguably one of the hardest nodes here for the negative zone because of the Old Man Logan mixture here. There's a bit of RNG involved in the sense that it's possible he could be taking out one or two of your allies before you could even get a turn. And you may have to weigh that out, or like myself, if you already have some gear tier 20 characters on Vigilante, you'll be able to withstand the attacks. So you can see we do just that here. Once he's able to get finish it going here, our Silver Sable goes ahead with the ultimate ability, same thing that she's been doing in the last few nodes already. But difference now is we're going to focus everything on Old Man Logan. Make sure you use all your attacks on him because you want him to be taken care of as soon as possible, so that way he's not further using his abilities and whatnot. Once he's taken care of, it's pretty smooth sailing on this node. He's really the only problematic character in this initial wave, and even with the enemies that follow later on, like especially those Dawkins that are in stealth right now, they could hit hard for sure. But once you take care of Old Man Logan, that synergy goes away and goes out the window. And at this point, we're really just cleaning up here. You can see how squishy these characters are. Before you know it, 5 is already taken care of. And now we have a chance here to actually focus on the Dawkins that are stealthed. And again, they can hit hard if you don't have the immunity on your allies. We are going to get actually this last and final wave here too with Black Cat, Nova, Ancient One, as well as a Phoenix, but Peter B. Parker. But honestly speaking, there are no issues whatsoever with these characters. Peter B is quite tanky. I recommend leaving him at the very end. You're going to have to stun and just inflict as many debuffs as you can on him, but otherwise Phoenix, you can one-shot her, giving you some ability energy there, so that's cheap. Activate the Silver Sable ultimate once again. And then essentially just a wrecking ball on each and every one of these characters until you get to the very end here with Peter B. So you can see just easily taking care of business here. Smooth sailing for this node. No issues whatsoever. If you guys have to stun Peter B at the end, you might have to. That's kind of what I did. And then I just started using a bunch of debuffs on him. But otherwise, that's the wrap up here for this node with Old Man Logan. Okay, so I believe this one's node 6. And probably the easiest or second easiest node out of all of them because every enemy here is super duper squishy. We go ahead, use the Silver Sable ultimate, Hit Monkey ultimate on one of the Black Knights. But yeah, for whatever reason, the enemies that we're up against in this node, they're just super duper squishy. Like they die really, really fast. You can see here, big ultimate with Punisher. Takes out like half the team here. And yeah, you want to focus on those Black Knights. But even this APOC that we're up against, he doesn't even really get a chance to get a turn just because he's ability block from the big get-go, right? And then we go ahead, we're just cleaning up those Archangels, the Nemesis, the Icarus there. But yeah, this Apocalypse doesn't really even have a chance. And before you know it, I mean, half the wave and mixture is already dead here, and we're just taking care of business, right? I definitely don't think you can, I don't know, maybe it's just easy for Vigilante. I don't know if Thunderbolts would have as much luck. But yeah, Apocalypse easily follows. The Spider Weavers don't yet really even get a turn. Activate the ult there from Punisher to once again just wreak havoc. But this is like a 1 minute node playthrough here. Super smooth, silky, easy, and yeah, not really much to write home about. Just know that you have to target the enemies that I did. But even with all those Black Knights, they're like really squishy, making short work of this. So this is just a nice freebie node for everyone. Okay, so this one's not bad. It's not terrible, but not bad. You still need to understand who to target with this one. Shadow King is a big target. The Medusas can hit like a truck. The Beta Ray Bills actually can do quite a bit of damage as well. So I recommend using Hit Monkey's ult on Medusa. It does actually end up landing a double stun on both of them, so that's great for us in terms of just managing some of the higher offensive enemies. But we do want to be focusing now all our attacks on the Shadow King in the middle there, just because if you're able to finish him off before some of the synergies land here and him getting his turn, it's really great for us to set things up here. But otherwise, these enemies don't really have a high HP pool suit as well, similar to what we saw with the last node. So really just about managing and making sure you take care of that Shadow King from the get-go. And now when you have a chance here, use Silver Sable special, shred through those buffs and taunts. And essentially now we're just doing work across the board by the extension of debuffs. This is where that team thrives, right? And getting all these enemies to that low HP threshold sets us up for success, because once we start slowly taking them down with assisted attacks, that's going to give us ability energy here and essentially replenish and reload what our abilities were, right? So again, what that key stun with Hitmonkey, both the Medusa still haven't got a chance to even go for a turn yet, and then you're gonna get this second wave here. I think the big issue here is obviously the Omega Red, making sure that he doesn't get a turn if you're able to land a stun on him, because he can actually hit like a truck here. So you want to land the Hitmonkey ultimate once again, similar to what we did in the previous node, and then just mitigates the damage. 7 out of 13 enemies remaining, but so as long as the Omega Red is in control and taken care of here, there's not really an issue in this node. So the leader is obviously ability block, so we don't have to worry about him. We're slowly just doing damage here over time, and that is gonna spawn 2 Ares as well as a rogue. But again, they're not really issues whatsoever, because just the speed that we have, the advantage of Vigilante, and extending all these debuffs across the board, it makes it so that we're in full control. And this is basically just knowing how to play this team. And if you're managing it right correctly with debuffs, you probably won't have an issue with this node. This is another freebie, but again, it could go wrong if you let the Omega Red run loose and he's actually doing work. But you can see here, we're just basically working down the list here of who's the weakest. And then as well, we're not afraid to use some of the abilities, even though we're at the end here. Each enemy we take down is going to give us the ability energy back anyways. And remember, that only leaves now the last and final node here being the Odin node, which I think is the hardest node. But if you know how to manage your cooldowns here, as we're doing right now, we're going to be in a really good position to set this up for the last and final node. So now taking care of the Ares, boom, 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 ability energy, and now good to go. Okay, last but not least, guys, this is what I found to be successful. I actually switched my Daredevil to Striker, and I also switched my Electra to Striker. And you'll see why exactly, because in this node, when you're going through it, the biggest character and the top priority is finishing off Odin as soon as possible. And I found that with having this ISO 8 mixture here was the best way that it got me that damage. So again, I'm always open to suggestions. This is what worked for myself, just to finish off Odin as soon as possible. So you start things off as we typically would with the ultimate on Silver Sable, but this time we're just strictly focusing in on Odin. You won't get the stun on him, but I just wanted to land the stun on him from Hitmonkey to do some additional damage. And you can see now we're just targeting everything at the Odin. That's all the attacks, all the abilities. So not really any kind of crazy strategy here, but the fact that we switched up the ISO 8s allows us to get some additional attacks on the Odins. Like for example, Electra now has the bleed being applied on her Striker basic ability. We have Daredevil having the dual strikes as well, with him being a Striker. So we're just getting actually just more hits in, right? And even though we're not targeting the surrounding crew around Odin, you can see we already finished off an enemy. So that's been one big positive of that, is that this Odin's so tanky that the enemies around him, if we're targeting everybody, we're essentially just killing everything around Odin as well. And then this is big, the ultimate from Electra, and this is why I put her as a Striker, barely just finishes off Odin, and that's probably the quickest way to do it, in my opinion. Sometimes RNG might be a factor, but I found when I switched up the ISO 8s, this is like a pretty reliable way to take down Odin from the get-go. And then again, now you get some of the abilities being utilized from the enemies here, where you might have to see where your team does stand at the end of the day. But I was able to get the one shot for all the nodes here like this. So you can see now we're just going through it. And again, our ability and our energy is a little bit low because we used everything on Odin, but now we're just trying to catch that back up, and we need to kill some enemies here as well to gain that ability energy back. So that's kind of what we're doing. 10 out of 12 enemies left, but to be honest, the moment you take down that Odin, it is pretty smooth sailing. These enemies, not really any of them stand out, to be honest, especially since you have the synergy of the Vigilante against really a random mixture of enemies that we're up against. So I'm just going over there. You can see one of the Havocs is taken care of now. And again, these characters are just letting their abilities get loose here in terms of just doing their thing. Obviously, it's their turn. But with the heal that we have, and once Silver Sable gets her ultimate off, once again, it's going to be a nice little reload that we'll get here in terms of just controlling once again. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, it's unfortunate. My Daredevil was stunned here for a little bit, so it kind of slowed us down a little bit, but it is what it is. You could argue that this Dormammu that spawns could be another secondary pain point of this node, but to be honest, once you have your main characters like Daredevil and the heal blocks taken care of, it's gonna be a lot more straightforward. I recommend if you have the Hitmonkey Ultimate to stun Hank Pym, just because he can provide a lot of support if he gets his turn. So I think that was a good way to kind of manage this a little better. But it's going to be a little bit of a slogfest if you have some of your characters stunned there. So you see, that's why we're slowing down a little bit here. Especially since the Silver Sable Ultimate would have been nice when Dormammu spawned, but we had to use it from the wave before just to kind of manage ourselves, right? But regardless, no issues whatsoever. You'll see that we're basically just essentially waiting for the turns to get going here to once again shred the barrier on these enemies because they're really defensive minded, right? Three of the swamps, as well as obviously just having Captain Britain and Hank Pym with their supportive capabilities, it makes it a little bit of a tankier match, but they don't have the damage as well. So that's why I was saying earlier, it's that Odin getting to the finish line there, and once you're able to start taking down an enemy or two and getting that ability energy back, then you can start rewinding here. So yeah, 6 out of 12. Again, it's just going to be like a slow little burn here, but once you get the ult from Silver Sable, boom, 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 it's going to allow the debuffs to stick once again, and then you get going. The snowball effect once again with the Vigilante synergy. So yeah, overall, guys, remember, this event is ongoing here for the next week and so, right? So you definitely want to beat this as many times as you can. I believe this reset is about 23 hours. So every time you do and complete it, it's going to be adding points to the leaderboard event. So just be mindful of that. And who knows, in the future, they may very well bring this back for future events. So that's why I feel like they're going to recycle this kind of similar to what they've done in the past events. But that's just my 2 cents anyways. At this point, guys, if you're down to the very end here and it's just a couple of these, the Dormammu here with the swamps, they're not going to do much anyways. You're just going to be able to get through it. And yeah. That's pretty much it, guys. Let me know what you think in comments below, though. We're just gonna wrap it up here just because this is gonna be a slow burn here. But yeah, hopefully this is helpful. Hopefully this is able to help you guys get to the finish line here. Silver Sable doing work once again. And it's been a good event overall, but only downside, like I said, is you do still need a heavily invested in Vigilante team. And to be honest, I don't know if Thunderbolts can do it because I don't have them unlocked yet, but Vigilante at least is a go-to team for this. So that's been great. Thank you for your time as always, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.